Welcome, guys, to class today. Today, we're going to be doing a discussion on cholinergic receptors. Cholinergic receptors. Okay, so cholinergic receptors are also called, their other name is, they are also called acetylcholine receptors. They are also called acetylcholine receptors because acetylcholine binds to them and to bring about different pharmacological and physiological activities. So, what are the properties of these receptors? What are the properties of cholinergic receptors? So, the properties of cholinergic receptors are actually what makes them different from other kinds of receptors, basically. Okay, what makes them different from other kinds of receptors? Number one is that they are they are present they are present on different effector sites. They are present on different effector sites. So anywhere you have acetylcholine exerting either pharmacological action or physiological action, you have a cholinergic receptor present there. And these effector sites, they could be different cells, they could be different tissues, they could be different organs too, and even systems. So the effector size can be different, could be cells, could be tissues, could be organs, could be systems. So anywhere you have acetylcholine exerting an action on a cell, on a tissue, on an organ, on the system, those are all the effector sites. Just know that there's a cholinergic receptor present there. They are also present. They are present at synapses. Okay, they are present at synapses. A synapse is basically a junction where two nerves communicate. So, like say you have a nerve. Like say this is a nerve. Like say you have a nerve A communicating with nerve B, for example. This point where these two nerves communicate is called a synapse. Okay, this is called a synapse. It's called a synapse. And if these two nerves are cholinergic neurons or cholinergic nerves, that is, they release acetylcholine, they are going to be communicating through the synapse. So you're going to have cholinergic neurons, cholinergic receptors present here. Okay, so they are activated. They are activated by acetylcholine. So cholinergic receptors are activated by acetylcholine. That's another property, and they help mediate. They help mediate the actions of acetylcholine. So, for example, in the gastrointestinal tract, the release of acetylcholine causes increased gastrointestinal motility and increased gastrointestinal contractions. Okay, of all the glands. So this is because there are receptors present on the GI wall that acetylcholine binds to. So there are different properties of cholinergic receptors. And some of these receptors, some of them are, they are actually, they're also G protein coupled receptors. They are G protein coupled. So they are G protein coupled receptors, G protein coupled. So basically, they are divided into two major groups. So the cholinergic receptors are divided into two major groups. So we have cholinergic receptors. They are divided into two major groups. We have the muscarinic receptors, and we have the nicotinic receptors. So cholinergic receptors are broadly divided into two major groups. We have the muscarinic receptors and the nicotinic receptors. The muscarinic receptors were found to be activated by an alkaloid called muscarine. So muscarine can activate muscarinic receptors. So the group of receptors, the group of acetylcholine receptors that can be activated by muscarine are called muscarinic receptors, and a group of receptors that can be activated by another alkaloid called nicotine, they are called nicotinic receptors. So this is basically an introduction to what cholinergic receptors are all about. So they are present on different effector sites. They are present at synapses. They are activated by acetylcholine. They mediate the action of acetylcholine. They are G-protein-coupled receptors. And apart from that, they are divided into two major groups. We have the muscarinic receptors and the nicotinic receptors. The muscarinic receptors are the group of cholinergic receptors that are activated by muscarine, while the nicotinic receptors are the group of nicotinic receptors and the group of cholinergic receptors that are activated by nicotine. So if you have questions, drop your questions. This is just an introduction. See you next time. Thank you.